So we will get started. As we start, I will acknowledge that we are meeting today on the traditional territory of the Tla'amin Nation. And a notice to our attendees that the meeting is being recorded and will be archived on the qathet School District website for public viewing. When we enter the question period, I'd like to remind attendees that its purpose is to provide an opportunity to ask questions, seek clarification regarding agenda items and board governance. We ask that comments remain focused on those matters so that we can make the best use of the time available and ensure a respectful and productive meeting. So we will be starting off with a presentation from Mariko Kuboto.
Presentation seems a little formal.
Discussion.
And I also
There's a PowerPoint, right?
No,
No.
there is no deck for you today. I'm sorry to disappoint. I feel so far from you.
I think it scoots right up.
Standing just feels a little intense too. Can I just scooch this closer to you?
Perfect. Yeah.
Like this? Okay. Hi, dear. Hi. Good afternoon. I'm here today. I know some of you know me in my professional capacity, but I'm here as a parent today. And I'm here to talk about kindergarten transition because, it's June and we're thinking about kindergarten transition, I'm sure. But yeah, thanks so much for having me with you. And I just wanted to come and share my personal experience and some positive thoughts. I hope that you receive positive feedback on a regular basis, but just in case you don't, I hope you get a dose of it from me today. And I know that we're in the graduation stage of school, but for those of us who've made some leaps into the public education system with their children, we're also celebrating their first year of being in the public education system. So I've written a little bit just so that I don't forget what I wanted to tell you, so I'll refer to my notes as I share with you some of my thoughts. So I want to really share with you my gratitude for the staff within your school district who have really supported my child's transition into French immersion kindergarten at James Thompson. I also really want to acknowledge that some of this reflects the school district's success, and I hope that you feel that it's all part of the same ecosystem. And I really want to encourage you as a parent to continue to do the great work you do in really honoring and celebrating and listening to the frontline staff that I have only experienced as being exceptionally talented, experienced, and tremendously knowledgeable. They also have a profound impact on children and families, and we're in the seat of that. So as we approach the end of kindergarten, my son has been telling us that he's really going to miss school. And lately he's started to ask each morning, is it a school day or a weekend day? He's still figuring out his days. And when I tell him yes, he responds by just saying, yeah. And I know that might make you smile, and it sure does for me, but it's also more deeply emotional actually, because my husband and I were very uncertain about how our year was going to progress and how it was going to unfold. Our son's transition to kindergarten was a complete surprise and shock to us. He's a kid who attended daycare, preschool, and we thought he'd be excited for school. Instead, school started and he experienced tremendous fear and distress. The fears included the size of the school, the unfamiliar environment, the distance from home, the untrusted yet adults, and the uncertainty of who he would have as friends. It was really heartbreaking to witness, especially as we were quite surprised by it. And as parents, we felt pretty lost. From that period, my husband and I started attending kindergarten as well. We rearranged our work schedules to support him and be there. And looking back, we can probably laugh about it because I didn't know my husband is so good at Lincoln Logs. But at the same time, it was a really difficult time for our family. And what made the difference for us was the staff at James Thompson and the response we got from the school. So Principal, Mr. Matt Hall, he immediately recognized my son's distress, and he invested himself directly into welcoming my son. Counselor Hillary Marciniak, she quickly became a trusted and friendly face on school grounds. The teachers, including Madame Claudine Varan for kindergarten, and even Miss Megan Skidmore for music, and Mr. Jeff Slack for PE, they all supported efforts to actually create measures to increase my son's level of safety. and comfort in the school. Then we started to do drop-offs directly with Vice Principal Ms. Courtney Lee and Mr. Hall. These were really challenging, and yet they maintained communication with us throughout it. This partnership between families and schools is tremendously beautiful, and it's really important actually. The support from JT staff, they offered not only what was not in transactional and procedural, they were really thoughtful, they were attentive, and they were deeply caring. They took the time to actually understand what was going on for our kid and what he needed. And I know we're only one of many families, and I also witnessed we were one of many other kindergarten transition challenges as well. The ecosystem of the school shapes every child's experience and creates a path for their public education journey. And in those critical early weeks, our family experienced what can happen when educators and support staff actually work together to help a child feel like they belong in that space. Because of those efforts, our son was eventually able to enter into the kindergarten class, and he was enthusiastic and confident with time. He's beginning to build relationships, he participates in learning, because he's no longer so much in distress, and he sees school as a place where he's safe but also valued as a person, and today he loves going to school. The contrast between where we started and where we are today is quite remarkable for us. And we absolutely believe that early transitions matter. The kindergarten experience is that first experience a child has within the public education system. And for our son, the relationships he began quite positively at GT have shown him that he's going to be supported throughout his education experience. So I wanted to come here today because I believe it's actually really important to publicly acknowledge this kind of work. We often hear challenges facing public education, and I can only imagine all the challenges that you have to face at this table in making decisions around budgetary constraints and many other constraints. And I'm sure that you try your best to, implement universal approaches. And here we are as a family experiencing very targeted approaches based on context and circumstances. So holding those together is quite complex, and I can appreciate that. From my perspective as a parent, this school district succeeded in supporting my child and our family through a very difficult transition, and that success really is owed to the frontline staff who bring their skill, their compassion, their judgment, and their dedication to this work every day. So with that, I just want to make sure that we are all connecting throughout this ecosystem, and that I wanted to make sure that as we were, as a family, thanking these people directly, that I share that gratitude with you as well, because you play an important part in the school district. And this relationship between school districts, school staff, and schools with families is really what I think is going to be the ecosystem, and ultimately in supporting the children as they go through their education. So I really did not anticipate how much we would rely on the professional support within the school this year to transform our son's experience of fear and lack of confidence in ultimately what he has described as a sense of belonging now. And for that, our family is really grateful. Just getting emotional, but it really means so much to us. So please continue to extend our thanks and our gratitude to those that I've named here today, but also there's so many more. As you can imagine, there were EAs watching us as we were walking through the playground in tears and watching our son run out of the schoolroom. And it feels like a distant past now. And I hope that that's the experience for many more families too as they go through this. So I really, really want to acknowledge the gift that is given in spaces that our children go to when they're not with us as family. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. We don't hear as many Good time stories is.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Appreciate that.
Well, I'm glad.
And
And
they do excellent work. You're right.
yeah. Thank you. And yeah, good luck to the next kindergarten cohort coming in. Yeah. Yeah. It's quite something. You do it all over again, don't you? Yeah. So I wish you all the best. And truly, I do get to interact with probably each one of you around this table in different ways. But as a parent within this community where we all grocery shop together, we go to the rec center together, just want to say thank you so much for being a part of this and playing the roles that we do. Yeah. Thanks. Have a good rest of your meeting. Thanks for having me.
Okay, next we have Mr. Pritchard. Great set of camps.
So as we get this set up, thanks for having us. My power over name is Hugh, and my outdoor learning center name is Lorax. And I'm going to give that to you.
Okay, so this one, you can go forward or down? Oh, sorry. Down goes forward. Now it's up.
So we figured it's been 21 years, and an opportunity to bring some of the magic of the outdoor learning center, specifically the grade 7 camps, to Ontario Avenue. So I've got the crew from Terra Centric who's been delivering the program for the last 3 years with me today. But not only that, but to express gratitude for something that I think you'll agree is another really a great news story that all of us at this table and tables before this can all share in a part of that success. I think when I think back on the last 21 years, I think when we started this program 21 years ago, we knew intrinsically what the benefit would be for grade 7 students, but what I think we never really quite estimated was the opportunity for mentorship and for inviting our own grads to take their own leadership to the next level. And some of them even found their career calling at grade 7 camps. Looking at you. And so, today as we kind of reflect on the last 21 years and look forward, we definitely feel like those camps mattered 21 years ago, and they matter even more now. And I think the stories that you're about to hear in the next few minutes, in a concise way, will hopefully share some of that energy. I did receive this email this morning from a teacher. I'll just read it. It says, "It was a really great camp this year. Our students were fully bought into what the leaders were giving them. There was so much joy and happiness emanating from our students. They had an amazing experience. Thank you. The leaders were wonderful. I can't tell you how much of a treat it is as a teacher to have the camp leaders basically caring for the students from 7:20 in the morning to 9:30 or later at night. It's astounding how much time and effort they put into it. It was a top-notch group of leaders, truly, and to have all the lifeguards present all the time. It's just perfect." So, anyway, so I'm going to hand things over to these guys because they have some energy and some anecdotes and some different stories. Those are for you guys, actually, so that's a good segue. Yeah, good reminder that I'm supposed to have you up. They didn't quite make it into the slide deck, so I apologize about that. That will be relevant. So, what are you guys?
Start with some introduction. So my name's Erica at ULC. My nature name is Monarch, the butterfly. I'm the program director for the overnight camp at the Outdoor Learning Center.
My name is Sophia. I graduated from Brooks in 2025, and this year I'm became staff at the OC as well as a lifeguard. And my name is Olivia Rodriguez. My name is Lindy at the OC in Sparrow, and I graduated last year as well, and then I was a camp leader and lifeguard at the OC.
My name's Reed, nation name Gary Oak, and I'm same age as these guys, and social staff at the OC this year.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm stoked to talk to you about the Eco Adventure Grade 7 camps. So get right in it. First off, we want to start with what do we do? So our camps have focused on the theme being the Great Escape. So grade 7 is a really, really important time, full of transition. So not only are they transitioning from their elementary school into the big, amazing world of Brooks, they're also facing a lot of emotional transitions friendship transitions, the connection circles are changing and expanding. And so at the OLC, we're super, super proud and happy to support them, not only through that transition, but also give them a chance to reflect and celebrate on their elementary years. So it's a great escape out of elementary school into high school, where they can meet some new people and have some fun in their journey.
Yeah, and one of the ways that we shape that is through, at the beginning of every grade 7 camp, we introduce the 5-finger contract. So these are the 5 values that we want the camps to hold and what we want the students to take forward with them. So that includes safety, commitment to the process, to each other, respect of the nature of the space we are in and of the participants, of teamwork and cooperation, working as a group, and of course having fun, but also knowing when it's okay to pass or how to challenge yourself through learning as well.
Yeah, so why is it important to do these grade 7 camps? They've been happening for 21 years, as you said, and they really do a great job of creating connections and community and a lot of new things, and often kids do things that they've never done before, like build a fire or go canoeing, or even just be in nature for longer than a couple hours. So that's really amazing. It's also an incredibly supportive space for learners of all abilities. We have something called Challenge by Choice at the OLC, so kids get to choose how much they push themselves. But there's also something for everybody. We have a campfire where more artsy kids can do singing and dancing and stuff like that. And we also have more active activities like the climbing wall and swimming that kids can also do. And then it also connects to the curriculum, those kind of 3 pillars of communication, thinking, and personal and social skills. One of our stations that we do with the kids perfectly illustrates all 3 of those things. They learn how to communicate by doing a blindfold challenge with each other. They learn how to problem solve by solving these like keys. They have to figure out what the keys to success are. And they have to work together in all these skills. So they're learning all 3 of those core competencies in just 1 hour that we do with them.
Yeah, and working together is a key pillar. Right as the students come off the bus, we are gathered in a big group and we play games and problem solve as a whole entity before being divided into smaller groups where we foster a really strong team connection. This quote here, favorite activity in the OLC is the canoes, like learning how to steer and learning how to do the J-stroke. I think the canoeing is like a perfect example of teamwork where we go from working as a whole group to working as a smaller group to working as just a pair. And you have to know what your responsibility is and what the other person's responsibility is in the boat. And we're there every step of the way to ensure that they work as a team and to try and encourage them to create these connections.
Yeah, trusting the process is definitely a big theme, and it's a big risk for students to even come and show up to the grade 7 camp. So we want to celebrate that they made it off the bus and they're here, whether it's for a day, whether it's for overnight, and we want to honor that celebration. And so trusting the process really looks like just committing to the schedule that we have and all the different activities that we offer. So a really big zoomed out version of what the really condensed 1 night to a day and a half of programming offers is 3 core anchoring stations that they'll rotate through in their 3 pods. It is the communication station or the low rope station. There's the canoeing, of course, and then there's also a survival skills wilderness technology station. So anchoring around those 3 stations, we also offer a choice block. This is one of the newer inventions into the programming, which really offers a choice for students. About 1 hour and 15 minutes, they get to choose from a different schedule of activities. So we can do things like fire building, climbing wall, swimming, field games, all sorts of disc golf. So super fun there. And then after dinner, all camp game, everyone comes together, run through the forest, talk about the food chain, and then come together for campfire, where we kind of like peak the experience and offer somebody maybe a way to step out of their comfort zone again. And whether that's through the talent show or skits or songs, just a way to wrap up the evening and kind of come to a really nice bedtime valley before they hit the cabins. And then the second day is the last station before they embark on a relay after lunch. So the relay ties everything all together, really, really again anchoring on the teamwork aspect, a little bit of competition that's healthy as well, before they get on the bus and finish their greatest game.
Ending with the relay is also really wonderful. We had a team, the first camp, our pod was really difficult. They were having a lot of trouble working together, a lot of like fighting between the kids. And then by the end of the camp, our group really pulled together, they worked together and they won the relay. And just that level of achievement from not being able to work together to winning at the end, it was just, yeah, it was really wonderful.
Yeah, and like the kids are just like, we could not communicate at all yesterday, and we just won the relay. And it's like, exactly, that's exactly what you did. So those moments are just so beautiful.
Yeah, so of course one of our important values is having fun. It's so important to us that we allow these kids to be kids, and I think that's so important today, especially with social media and where kids are growing up faster. It's really important that they do things like play the Floor is Lava as one of our stations. They have to use their imagination. We, dance to Cotton Eye Joe and do things that are usually labeled as silly and kids can be scared to do, but at camp it's just everybody's doing everything, so there's no judgment, and it's so much fun for them. So that's really, yeah, a core part of the camps.
Yeah, so one of the big pieces of camp is students being able to make a little postcard to themselves at the end of their journey on the second day before they're going home, and being able to reflect on their experience and what am I taking away from this? So some of these little sound bites are learning teamwork. Teamwork is working together and helping each other out, noticing how peaceful nature is when I'm quiet. This one is beautiful. How about future me? I want to tell you a few words. 1, please go and be in nature for a bit of camping, hiking, etc. 2, spend time with your family. They want to be here forever even. 3, please don't drink or smoke. I don't know where that came from. 4, I love you so much. So one person loves you, so you know you're beautiful and kind, and I love you. So like that was like a little postcard to their future self, and just having the camp bring these things out is so gorgeous. At meeting new people, going on adventures, doing tasks. We had so many amazing drawings on these postcards too, of all the amazing things they did. This one was the participant drew the 3 keys of success that they had to do to get out of their collaboration station in the forest. And they wrote down all the communication, teamwork, and trust were the 3 things they needed, which ties into leaving elementary school and going and facing new challenges. But now they have those 3 keys to move forward. So there's just so many beautiful postcards. We just sit in the office and like cry reading them after. It was great. But those are just a couple little snippets.
Now to get into the nitty-gritty, we, for the first time ever this year, issued a pre- and post-camp survey where the staff went around doing the pre-camp kind of explanation of what was going to happen, and got students to fill out some questions. And as you can see, across the board there was improvement in ability to work with others and problem solving, connection to peers, and the spending time in nature, which is 3 of our main goals as staff are to increase those qualities. You can see questions like, what does trust mean to you, which otherwise would have been deep and might not elicit a response. We've been able to get something out of them in the post. There's this quote here: what is trust? When you believe someone. For example, the game in the forest, being blindfolded and having to trust your friend. It's these seemingly simple activities that really have such a deep impact on our students. A couple key quotes here. I'd encourage you to read through all of them, but we've got, in the interest of time, I'm just going to read one here. I think it's great, and I'm interested and excited for future grade 7s. I wish it was longer. I learned that teamwork is very important. So these like surveys really help us conclude that the grade 7 camp program provides students with the opportunity to learn and refine critical skills such as teamwork and problem solving that may help them in all levels of their future life. And this is something that we really drive home. This grade 7 camp, this transition period, we try and give them some skills that will be really useful heading on to Brooks and then heading on to their adult lives.
In what ways are the camps relevant today? So I think Amy touched on this a little bit, but these camps have always been relevant, but especially now when kids are like exposed to social media that is making them need to grow up faster or making them not be able to connect with each other in the same way. Because at camp they don't have access to their phones, And we found that having the time to make those connections when they don't have other distractions is so beautiful. And like, it's been crazy because like when we were grade 7, only like 2 people had phones in our class, and now you'd be taking away phones from like every single kid almost in the classes. So just like, we can see a big shift in that for sure. But the teachers definitely also noted these things, such as like not using electronics to communicate and interact with other people, and providing the opportunity to unplug and be in nature is super relevant. Giving them more independence that they might not have in their day-to-day life, and bonding, of course. It's so great before they go to Brooks, and the teachers heard so many of them say that this is great because now I will know even more people that may need my classes. And we saw a lot of that through the camps, especially where we had 2 different schools coming together, like a Kelly Creek and Edgell camp or a Henderson and Pye camp. And I think for us, like, we really noticed really strong connections being made, and people getting really excited to go to Brooks through these new friends they've found.
Yeah, I think kind of coming off of that connection was something that I found really stuck out to me throughout these camps. We were asked to like just do a little reflection, and one soundbite that comes to mind for me was during the Henderson and Pye camp. A kid coming out of the forest, when asked how it went, he said, "Amazing, I just met my new best friend." And so it's moments of that are really heartwarming after less than an hour together. Having such a like, we'll have kids exchanging contact information when they get their phones back at the end of camp. And one of my things as a previous Brooks alumni, asking my pod like what questions you have for Brooks, and being able to talk with them and foster the connection, encourage them to make the most of their time in high school has been really valuable.
One thing that I thought, what I really took away from it was how inclusive the camps are. I had a parent come up to me at the end of our Pie Families camp, which is similar to the grade 7 camps, and talk about how her daughter often has trouble in school and she's homeschooled now, and how she's often not welcome to spaces because of ADHD and autism and just being different than other kids, and how the OLC just does a really great job of welcoming those kids, and they have so much fun. Like you said, there's something for everybody, and it's often the kids who struggle in school are sometimes isolated from their peers that actually thrive in these challenges, and they have all these incredible skills that they might not otherwise get to showcase. So they get to succeed in a new place where school might not always be where they can do that, but at the OLC, you get that chance.
And going off of that too, one thing I really took away was when Indy, when Indy and I were in high school, we had the opportunity to do some classroom circles with some grade 7s, or no, these were grade 6s then, at JT. So we were working with them in a classroom setting, like for a couple weeks, a couple times a week or whatever. And so we had witnessed all of these kids in their classroom, and then we had all of those grade 6s in our grade 7 camp this year. And it was the most beautiful thing to see all of these kids, and like there's a couple kids who like really struggled in the class, like who had a really short attention span, or like were just having a hard time engaging in the classroom discussion, but like were the ones who like brought the most energy and were just thriving. But it wasn't just like those kids, it was everyone from those camps. I feel like just really, it just felt so much more like, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but it was really beautiful to be able to see that transition from the classroom to the forest. And another way that we got to witness that was through doing sit spots with the kids. And like sit spots, you just like go out into nature. Here's like a little piece of paper, write some words, things you're observing, but it's like you have to be quiet. And so many of these kids just don't have the opportunity to just sit down and be quiet and like observe the tiny little things around them. And similar to the postcards, like the sheets of paper we'd get after this activity, like we had like 20 minutes in spots with some of these kids where they were just sitting absolutely quiet, absolutely still, and just observing such like beautiful little things that you don't really get otherwise. And I think that was really impactful for me too.
A lot of the teachers told us before we came, especially with certain kids, he'd say, "This is a problem kid," or "This is a difficult class," and then during camp we're like, "What? What problem kids? What problem class?" Because they were such great participants and students at camp. It's really cool to see how different kids can be when they're out in nature.
And given that option to thrive, often the kids that we were worried about ended up being the brightest lights at campfire and the most willing to participate in events. And so giving that opportunity to have a successful moment in what might otherwise be a difficult school environment is really empowering.
I think to wrap up this slide for me, wearing the director's hat, I don't necessarily get to forge those super close one-on-one connections, but one thing that really I notice every camp and also notice in the team here is just the permission to have fun. The ability to play is getting, I feel, more and more difficult, and so we're really providing an aspect of play in their lives that they might not get to have otherwise. Technology aside, but getting to play with your peers, and just being really silly, being super silly, having fun. Yeah, it just gives them a different outlet that they might not get otherwise. So the permission to have fun really stands out for me. Yeah, so this is just more feedback here from teachers directly. So it's just some more amazing sound bites that we touched on, initial connections from other schools, kids just being kids. They're young, they're 12 or 13, they're super young. We want to foster that as well. So I'm missing 2 full days of activity.
And one big thing standing out to me is that so many kids just wishing that it was 2 nights instead of 1, or like after every camp there'd always be kids that come up to you saying, I wish we could stay here forever, or I wish we could like live here. And I'm like, it just really warms my heart, just like, but like also noting that having more time is something that is really valuable in those camps, because we do have 1 2-night program with the group from Comox, and we really just get to dive in a lot deeper and form stronger connections. So that might be something interesting to pursue.
And the second day is often, or always, better than the first. And the students really are able to find comfort in the lodge and in their zones and settle in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is just some feedback from the students. Yeah, a lot of fun. We would ask the kids at the end of camp to give us 1 word to describe the camp, and I gotta say fun was probably the #1 answer, or variations of the word fun if I told them they couldn't use the same word. But yeah, glad we went, wanted to go next year. They just really enjoyed it, and also the food was really good.
Yeah, we had great chefs.
Yeah, I guess to conclude, kind of like where we're going from here and what do we take away from the last, long duration grade 7 camps, I can personally say, also we were asked to do this in 1 word, so I'm just totally not going to be able to do that. My career path was 100% influenced by my time in my grade 7 camp. I'm the ripe old age of 30 right now, and so my year was at Rainbow Lodge. And I remember every second of that camp like it was yesterday. And it has been an absolutely impactful force on my career path. And I would not be here today without the grade 7 camps. So, yeah.
I think for me, I just finished my first year of university, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm interested in doing. And I know I've always been very drawn to working with people and kids and also being outside. And I've been sort of leaning towards like some sort of outdoor education path, but then coming to these camps and like working with the kids, I'd go home and be like, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. Because I'm like, it's so magical, like it's so hard to describe. But like when you get to spend the time with these kids outside, it's seriously the most heartwarming thing. And I think it has helped me sort of shape the direction that I want to take my further education. So it's been really amazing.
I think my 1 word would be life-changing. I honestly think that it's life-changing for the kids. They just love it. And some of these kids, I can tell you right here, this girl, she said, I want to come back and work at the OLC. But it's also like, it's really life-changing for us because the values and the connections that these kids form it's inspiring for me too. As you know, a 19-year-old and even not a 12-year-old, just the things that they say is so beautiful. And there was a kid on one of our postcards and he wrote, message to my future self, treat everybody like it's your last day. And like that happens all the time. There's just these beautiful little things that these kids say and they stay with me. So I think it's really beautiful that it's life-changing for the students but also for the staff as well.
Yeah, and I think that the grade 7s put it best. And to sum it up in 1 word, it is fun. It's an amazing experience. I love it so much, and just having that opportunity to have unbridled fun outdoors without worrying about anybody recording it or laughing about you or making jokes, it is so much fun.
And I will just wrap up by saying thank you to you and the board and everybody here. These camps would not happen without board support, so we really, really, really appreciate you guys as well. So thank you so much. That concludes our presentation.
Was there any copies to go around?
Oh, there was tons.
Yes.
Yes. I have one question. Given its success, if you were to expand it in some direction, would you think that it'd be more successful moving it up to like continuing the grade 7 camp, but doing also like high school or elementary school? Like which direction would you think would be more successful?
That's a really interesting question. Yeah, I think the grade 7 is a really, again, really key time. I'm gonna let you speak on this too. But yeah, I think the grade 7 years, again, as we talked about, transitions, full of change. We'd certainly be open to exploring different ages, but yeah, grade 6, grade 7 year, with all the changes that are occurring and the way that Brooks is grade 8 to 12, I think fits very naturally. But that being said,
And well, on that too, I think like one of the key pieces for me would be expanding the time we have, like 2 nights or like so having those like 3 full days. I think that would be really beneficial because I do agree with Monarch that like that transition time is so key. Like that's really what we're hitting, but also the kids are like, can we do this in high school? So it's
Yeah.
like,
So that, a few years ago, it must have been maybe 6 years ago, we did a survey, another sort of evaluative kind of piece of work, and one of the, and actually, it was when Matt Hall was the principal at Brooks. And so the opportunity to bookend the end of elementary and the start of high school with, similar experiences, and also kind of based on the research, which was suggesting at the time that we were losing a lot of kids in that transition. So building, September is a key month, so using September as a sort of a team building retreat, using our facility, which, I gotta say, like, there's very few districts in our province and even potentially in our country that, as a Board of Education, we've got a facility, that is now 12 years old. We're still, in its adolescence, we're still unfolding its potential. And I think that's, certainly adding length, but if it was to kind of mirror another cohort, it would be to pick it up in grade 8. That's sort of one, and that's coming from the teachers and others. Any other questions for this amazing team? They do a great job. And the invitation is open for anybody to come up. Sometimes this work happens in the corners or in the woods, and it's difficult to summarize, and to bottle, and it's best experienced in person. So invite you all. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sure.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Thank you so much. Okay, then we have one more presentation with Mr. Formosa. Hello, Mr. Formosa. It's you.
I,
Wait, there's a wings on there.
back. You're right. I should. Yes, you can.
Last one before I'm gonna get.
Yes, this should be the last construction update. The next one is over. So I'm just here to provide an update for the National School Edition project. As mentioned, the Flash update are opening, so that's kind of an exciting milestone. I know we've been through a few of these presentations on site a couple of times. The next one will be a good opening day. So we've sort of seen this slide. It's just a general overview of what were the expectations for September. 5 new classrooms, the new media tech, the new music room, that expanded student support service, inclusive education space, and the renovated gym space. As of September, that'll be the new school layout. You see the addition on the right. So this is an update of current state of the outside of the addition. So this being the front corner, that's going to be kind of our montage view. We take a photo, I think, every week or since we broke ground, so that'll be our kind of our corner montage. And this is the back view. So you can see the siding has gone up. We're starting to do the outside exterior ceiling, and that'll be completed and painted in the next couple of weeks. And so the envelope is coming to its sort of final stages, and then concrete works finishing inside. So as far as the addition exterior goes, it's going really well. No new surprises now, and it's starting to take shape into the new space outside. Inside, you can see this is the backside classroom, so that's from the outside. That's this one here. You can sort of see it's a blank canvas right now, but I'm sure your furniture will be there in summer. But millwork has been installed, the new mechanical is over here. We've got new LEDs. On the back side here, there's new millwork for cubbies for the students that is inside the classroom versus the existing site. Currently has all the coat hooks in the hallways. And this has since progressed, but this is the latest one. It was good just to see the glass going in there. So we'll see that sort of curved wall segment as turns this way, and where you'll enter into the new media tech space. So it's good, you can just sort of see that the glazing architectural detail starting to take shape. And that's just on the other side that's the hallway into where the gym area is. So this is actually in use now, as it was sort of, as we flipped things May long weekend, we took some spaces away to start renovation early, and then we gained some space. This was one of them. This is will be one of two of the new inclusive education rooms. So we've got some fun feature windows on the side there. That'll be working space with furniture when the new furniture arrives in July. And they're sort of using this as a flex space right now. It's before and after school care. There's an office here that's being used for inclusive ed meetings with some other teachers, and that will be fully outfitted again come summer.
Jay, what's the light on the floor?
What's that?
What's the light on the floor?
Oh, it's the
Just a reflection?
there's skylights.
Oh, okay, so it's coming, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so that's just
It's
it's
not coming
a
from the ground.
weird glaze, no.
Alright.
Nothing too fancy, but these are two skylights. So this is not, it doesn't have any exterior. So previously this room would have had windows here, but we've since framed in that courtyard. So the plan was that we'd have a couple skylights, and then those feature windows, beyond being aesthetic, they also provide some natural light for the front entryway. So this is getting into a bit of the existing side, some of the things that we're looking to complete tomorrow or Friday sort of thing as we get going. Would be work in the existing classrooms. So while we were doing the new side, there was some opportunities for us to do some work in the existing, to do a bit of a refresh on the school as a whole. One of them being mirroring the new millwork that's being done in the new side that we're going to actually remove. So if you walk into the addition or existing side, you'll see that there's the sort of, it's pretty similar. Most of the schools, James Thompson has it, Henderson has it, where it's that legacy millwork. So we're removing all of that and then putting in this new style with coat hooks inside the classrooms. So it'll free up space into that was in the hallways. It'll now be inside along that entirety of that wall, along with new sinks and millwork, and that will come with new plumbing throughout the existing side as well. There'll be the addition of a teaching cabinet, as well as new teachers' desks and new teacher seats. So this is in more into the sort of plans as we ramp up here for the big summer construction push. As of May long weekend, we had taken over what was the administrative space. It is now going into become the inclusive education space. So that's where we took this space, but we pushed them or moved those services over to that flex space, so they can have some of the meetings with support staff and still have those primary functions ongoing in that new space. The administrative wing had also moved over to at the same time, that same long weekend. If you popped into school now, you turn right instead of left to see Jamie and Ashley. So this is where they're putting in the universal washroom, which has the lift, the larger style change table, laundry. So we sort of consolidating some of those things that are across the school right now into this new space. The gym was also taken over in May long weekend, so we put up some. If you've been to the backside, you'll see some sort of fun gazebo like temporary that have been there for the month of June. The weather's been very favorable. We had the stage set up there for a good couple of weeks, and then they've been busy in the gym. They've taken out. I'll move to the next slide here. I think it shows it. So that's the gym right now. So this, you can sort of see the seam of where the stage was. There was the original stage, and then they had the bump out that was put in years later. So that's all gone now. This beam was actually pushed through a hole about, maybe about a couple inches wider than that beam. It's been in, so it's structurally been upgraded already. And then they're getting ready to do the wall paneling, sound, noise attenuation, and new flooring in there, as well as the fold-down stage and the new basketball. So getting a very significant renovation. We were fortunate to work with the staff at HL to be able to make that a reality and get in there early to do those structural upgrades that became apparent as we started doing demolition work. This was, well, that was Jamie's office right here. It's, there's lots of natural light in there now.
Airflow.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. So this is, obviously this is a significant rework, and hence why we wanted to get in here ahead of summer. So this gave us, again, the ability, the flexibility, patience that the staff has had has allowed us to be able to move the staff room, move the administration wing over to be able to remove a good portion of that part of the building to be able to reconstruct it. There's a lot of structural upgrades that have to go on here, a lot of reconfiguration. So this is still a big push and the critical path for the project as a whole.
Jake, are you saying the exterior wall came out?
Yeah. First, I mean, there was the overhang here, so it was just they basically took it out to do the structural upgrades there for the lookout. So the design element, so this, the 88-inch spindle, confirmation was actually earlier than we expected, because we actually had to tell them to hold off because we didn't really want it in the space until we've gotten the proper design elements in and we've done the finishing work. So this spindle artwork is now complete. The local combination artist it's been really a really cool process to be a part of. Very enjoyable, very talented. And so there's plans to have this well ahead of the school opening to become sort of where that we're trying to align it with, there's a skylight there and aligning it with the media tech area in that main sort of atrium hallway. So that will be on August. In addition, this year we received CNCP funding from the ministry to install a 35 kilowatt solar array. So we had sort of planned for this as a future item when we were doing design considerations for the roof structure. So we actually improved the structure a little bit for this future. Future came pretty quick, so we actually lumped it into this project to put them on and install it in line with all the electrical upgrades that we were doing at the time. So this will see a 35 kilowatt solar panel array. I think there was maybe a 6 kilowatt that was there. And now this is being flipped to a 3-phase large array. So it's the new system generates about enough energy for 4 or 5 homes. So it's not an insignificant amount of power. And will offset the use at the school.
Jared, is that one in the same size as Westview?
Smaller
than Brooks?
Yeah, it's about, I think that one's 30 to 35. Yeah. So similar, yeah. Brooks is 90-ish. So it's about a third of the size.
So is it generating more than it is going to be using?
No.
No.
Unfortunately, we still are intensive, especially because we've converted to heat pumps. Having said that, we've moved off of natural gas, so we'll see greenhouse gas emissions decrease significantly and then further offset. And usually, like BC Hydro's 3% of your consumption would be equivalent to greenhouse gas emissions when you look at comparative to natural gas. So this is obviously gives us minimal impact and offsets that further. as well as we're not consuming that power. That's my- Any questions? Or?
I have a question.
Yeah.
For, especially in regards to the renovation, what efforts are being made to sort of separate the waste from the renovation? So like the wood and the metal and stuff like that and recycle it?
I mean, this one is, there's not too much in terms of the addition side that we're really removing with wood. We have the one where the other side of the school was primarily all wood. We didn't have a lot of metal, it wasn't a metal roof. We weren't removing any metal roofing material. So the new side is all metal flashing, but we're not removing a large amount of mixed, I would say. And there's not a ton of demolition outside of, we removed the ceilings and those are just old tiles, there's nothing you can really recycle. Other areas we're keeping just going over top. The portables are one, they're primarily mixed construction, so there's not a lot of metal in those either. We'll be reusing the doors in there, the whiteboards, all the furniture will obviously come out.
In other words, they're meant to be demolished.
The portables, yes, yeah.
We worked with the Music Academy, had potential interest, but it was too cost prohibitive.
What about keeping one or two for an extra space there?
But we had looked at it, it just, we had no space demand. Right now, it would have to be like Kelly, it'd have to be completely rebuilt to be, to extend line, which is what we did. The two newer looking ones at Kelly Creek came from Brooks, but we had the whole year to rebuild.
Yeah, they're 60 or 70,000 to move, and then to renovate them is over and above that. So because it's all out of town services, you have to get full building permits, and you have to go right upstairs. So it's not an insignificant cost to move them. And then we looked at in the PDR stage for this project, we looked at the 10-year development. We gained that divisional space inside the school actually. So with I think the 10-year peak, you fill that last divisional space, but when we come into September, we have one divisional space. It's looking right. So we gain one in the size.
Just wanted to say kudos to the EdShell staff and students for getting through this year. I know that has been a challenge, and we appreciate the sacrifice. But also thank you to you and your team and all the construction. It's been very well managed and well done.
You know, it's been a tremendous year. The staff has been, I mean, I think Unitech as well, they do both the construction manager, they do both, you know, the in-service build, when you're building adjacent or connected to, and the new build, and obviously the new build is far less to organize and manage, you know, than just like, you can just build freely. So, yeah, there's a tremendous patience in the staff. Hopefully it comes back with some boarding new space.
That's right.
In September.
Thank you. Okay, question period is cleared out. Okay, I will go into my opening remarks. As this is our final board meeting for the 2025-2026 school year, I've been reflecting on a moment from earlier this month, the Brooks Secondary graduation ceremony. Watching graduates cross the stage is always moving. It is a celebration of years of learning, growth, perseverance, and support from families, friends, teachers, and staff. But it is also a reminder that education is at its heart about helping young people prepare for what comes next. June is a season of endings and beginnings. Students are wrapping up another school year, staff are preparing classrooms for summer, and families are marking important milestones. For our graduating class of 2026, this moment represents the closing of one chapter and the start of another. Our graduates leave our schools with knowledge and skills, but also with experiences that have shaped who they are. They have demonstrated resilience, determination, creativity, and kindness. Whether their next step is post-secondary education, trades training, employment, travel, or service to their communities, we are confident they will continue to make meaningful contributions wherever life takes them. On behalf of the Board of Education, congratulations again to the graduating class of 2026. We are incredibly proud of all that you have accomplished and excited for all that lies ahead. June is also a time of important recognition. The This month, we celebrate Pride Month and reaffirm our commitment to creating schools where everyone feels welcome, valued, and respected. We also recognize National Indigenous History Month and National Indigenous Peoples Day on June 21st, an opportunity to celebrate the cultures, histories, and contributions of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples, while continuing our shared journey of learning and reconciliation. Last week, grade 6 and 7 students from across the district gathered in Shosum to celebrate the occasion with prairie teachings, Inuit games, and a choir performance and more. As the school year comes to a close, I would like to extend sincere thanks to all staff across the qathet School District. To our teachers, support staff, administrators, custodians, maintenance and operations teams, bus drivers, office staff, and district staff, thank you. Your care, professionalism, and commitment make a difference in the lives of students every day. Finally, I would like to note that this fall will bring another important milestone for public education in our community, the school trustee election. On October 17th, residents will elect 5 trustees to serve our district for the next 4 years. Serving as a trustee is a meaningful way to contribute to the future of public education, and we encourage anyone interested to learn more about the role. Information about an upcoming candidate information session will be shared in the coming months. As we conclude another successful school year, thank you to everyone who helps make our schools vibrant places of learning, belonging, and opportunity. I wish all students, staff, and families a safe, restful, and well-deserved summer. Okay, did anyone have anything that they wanted to add to the agenda? No? Motion that the regular meeting agenda of June 24th, 2026 be adopted as circulated. Dale? Lori, all in favor? Thank you. Adoption of minutes. Motion that the regular meeting minutes of May 27th, 2026 be adopted as circulated. Dale, correction, all in favor? For a closed meeting on May 27th, 2026, the board met in camera to discuss items which included property personnel, with incoming correspondence from the IEC delegation to the board, and the Ombudsman's quarterly report. Any comments related to either correspondence?
Well, I just want to mention that I thought that the conversation with the IEC went really well, and it was really heartwarming to feel the appetite and interest in really solidifying a wonderful relationship moving forward.
Agreed. Thank you, Dan. Okay, motion that the correspondence listed in item 4A to 4B be received. Okay, Maureen, all in favor? Avoiding correspondence. Draft letter from the board to Premier Eby, permanent staggered time and student safety. This reflects the motion that was put forward by trustee Conti at the STA. Any comments on the draft?
Very well written.
I agree, I thought it looked well written and ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Superintendent of Schools report, superintendent, you're in review.
Through you, Chair. About a year ago, I was here and gave a bit of a kind of a summary on my first couple of months. I think it was something around the first 40 days or something like that. And I prepared some remarks, really not as a formal report, but rather as a kind of a reflection on my year and my observations and things like that. So I wanted to take a few moments to do that. Chair, trustees, colleagues in the qathet school district community. Over the past year, in this my first year superintendent in this incredible district, I've spent a great deal of time in schools, at various events, meetings, conversations with students and staff, and one of the key kind of teachings that has emerged over and over again for me is the notion that seeing and hearing is believing, and it is in a sense what matters most. In education, we often rely on our reports, on our data, our indicators of success to help us understand and guide student success, and these tools are certainly what matter in a great deal of the work that we do, and as featured in the reports that we made. But this year has also reinforced and reaffirmed something deep inside me that is equally important, and that is that if we truly want to understand learning in our district, we need to continue to spend that time listening and observing with the lived experiences of our schools and our students. We need to see it in action, and we need to listen to what it tells us. Recently, I had the opportunity to sit with and listen to a number of our students at Brooks Secondary, and I had the opportunity to pose questions to them. They posed questions to me, but some of the questions I got to ask them were questions around kind of their lived experience. And one of the questions was what mattered most to them in their learning. And what I heard was powerful. I heard that learning sounds like friendship. They talked about the friends we made and the experiences we had. I heard that it sounds like growth, discipline, and discovering my future goals shaped who I am today. I heard that it sounds like a connection, that relationships and conversations always came out with a different perspective, and I learned so much from that. So when we truly hear these responses, we begin to understand something essential, that learning is not just an intellectual endeavor, it's relational, it's human, it's grounded in belonging. And it is amplified every day by the adults who surround their students, both at school and at home. We heard a little bit of that tonight. There's a line by Frederick Bachman that captures this perfectly when he writes that the world is full of miracles, but none greater than how far a young person can be carried by someone else's belief in them. So when we listen, we hear that truth echoed back to us. We hear it in the way these students talk about their teachers, their coaches, the educational assistants, the support staff, and all of those people that show up for them. The adults who believe in them, who listen, who encourage, who create spaces where they feel safe to try, to struggle, and to grow. These are the statements. They believed in me. They really listened and they understood me. They made me feel like I belong. Seeing and hearing that, we cannot help but believe in the impact of our staff, our every role, every school, every day. Their belief becomes the bridge that carries our students forward. There is certainly alignment in these comments directly as they relate to our strategic plan, and certainly elements of that featured prominently in our framework for enhancing student learning reports. And while we track those achievement elements and acquisition of applied knowledge and skills, we also hold ourselves as stewards for something equally powerful, and that is ensuring that every student experiences belonging, connection, and growth. As parents and caregivers know, learning is about more than the marks on the report cards, and achievement matters. Also, confidence, resilience in relationships, and a sense of belonging. Our responsibility is to support all of those things. Students told us that they will what they will carry forward. They spoke about resilience and confidence, and a stronger sense of who they are. They were honest about challenge, about stress, about balancing the expectations, about the days when it felt really hard to show up. And yet they also spoke about how these experiences helped them grow. One of our recent PI grads wrote that my struggle was not against a villain, but against self-doubt, an experience that taught me resilience, courage, and self-respect. That is the power of belief, sometimes forged out of challenge, but always paired with opportunity. Students also constructively challenged us. They want learning to feel real. They want it to be hands-on and meaningful and connected to their lives. They want voice and they want choice. And while some feel heard, others want to feel more heard. Seeing and hearing that contrast matters, and it reminds us that our work is never done and that listening must lead to action. This speaks in so many ways about our relationship with the Tla'amin Nation and our relationship with them, and that learning is rooted in relationship to people, to place, and to identity. Our students remind us of that every day, and it's an important reminder for it to keep in our heart. When we ask students what success means, their answers were simple but profound. It's happiness for me, or that I'm proud of myself, or I'm doing what I love. So when we hear that, we're reminded that our focus on the whole child, on well-being alongside achievement, is not just important, it's essential. And when I reflect on my first year as a superintendent, I return to this idea that seeing and hearing is believing, and that it lives in the thousands of acts of heartfully doing. A walk to graduation does not begin in the last day of grade 12. It begins on a student's very first day of school. It begins with small moments, often in the middle of the time. A welcome at the door, a word of encouragement, a lesson that sparks curiosity, a second chance, the moment when an adult chooses to believe in a young person, sometimes before they are ready to believe in themselves. Over time, those moments add up, hundreds and thousands, acts of belief carried out by teachers, educational assistants, support staff, administrators, our bus drivers, custodians, families, fellow classmates, every person who contributes to the life of the school district. And it is those thousands of acts of belief that carry a student forward, step by step, all the way to graduation and beyond. In many ways, that is what defines us as a district. It is what defines qathet, not just as a place, but as a way of working, a commitment to moving forward together. And together we create the conditions for learning. Together we build that belonging, and together we carry our students farther than they could ever go alone. And when we truly see and hear that, when we recognize that collective impact of all who walk alongside our students, we come to believe something deeply important, that every graduate is not the result of a single moment, but of a community that believes in it. And I guess just in closing, I want to thank you for being that community, for that. It is truly what matters most. So those are just a few of my thoughts. I'll take questions.
Your English teacher is showing, that was beautifully written.
Helps when I mean it too.
Yes.
Also, I'm also talking about the school county feedback. Through the chair, we did, as you know, as the memorandum discusses, we did have the proposed calendar draft out for feedback from the 20th to June 19th. And we did receive a modest amount of feedback, mostly in around respondents wondering about this particularly the adjacency of it to Easter. We also have, so we you know, looking at that and looking at kind of the patterns that have preceded us, and recognizing too that we're trying to stay in alignment with other districts. I mean, Comox, for example, has a similar structure. It seems like the logical thing to do is to just retain that structure so that it's less disruptive. Typically, the last couple of weeks of March have been kind of the points where the break happens. And in polling around, we know that a couple of districts close to us have a very similar time frame as well. We also heard from at least one respondent that commented on the importance from their perspective of having it kind of aligned because of community things that they're doing. So in the interest of kind of consistency over time, our recommendation would be to retain the structure. I should note also that we did receive some feedback from QB just around some things to be considered of in the year that we arrive at with 28-29 around early dismissal times and things like that, and having that. So those would be pieces of feedback that we would take into the current year. So keeping in mind that this is 3 years out, a lot of this was about the structure, but we did note that feedback that we received. So that would be the recommendation that I would bring forward.
So just for clarity, being mindful of the early dismissal is related to hours of instruction?
Yeah, well, we have to retain we have to make sure that our instructional minutes are adhered to. So I think the question that, the comment that we got regarding those things would be sort of things that we would be mindful of in the year coming, like in that particular year around the dates and times for early dismissals and things like that. So it wouldn't be a change to our instructional minutes. It would just be, because we typically have the same number of early dismissals, et cetera, every year. So we want to make sure that we cover that off.
Okay, any questions or comments for the school calendar? Okay, motion that the 2028-2029 school calendar be approved. Yeah. Question? Okay, thank you. And suspension, exclusion.
And just the final piece through the chair is our last report for this year, our May suspensions, which were 3. They were 2 dating infractions and 1 vandalism. And this will be the last report that exists in this fashion. So when we start the fall, we'll be adjusting our reporting on it. So, and if there's anybody interested, yes, and if there's anyone interested in where we stack up versus last year, we have it was the exact number of suspensions as of May. Yeah, I don't know that. So.
Any questions or comments? Okay, motion that the superintendent's school report be received as presented. Gretchen, Dan, all in favor? Secretary Treasurer's report.
Okay, just the one item, so we, by the end of June, need to submit our major capital plan, which we've identified the proposed submission is seismic projects at Texada is the main priority, and the called Heritage Building of James Thompson, and then the balance of on the capital plan summary, the appendix A, and what we've done in draft is kind of a inside look at what we propose as projects under minor capital for September. But right now, the motion would just be for those two seismic projects, which I don't reasonably expect we'll get support on for this coming year, but we'll keep submitting because those are our two projects.
Do we see ourselves on like a list? Like, does the ministry say like, oh, you're sitting around here?
No. It's pretty fluid, and they're bundling. The big thing, just the major cost of capital, and you take smaller projects and try and wedge them into the cash flow of, like our Henderson seismic, for example,
Right.
was accelerated because it was a small project that fit in between two balls in their cash flow. But if you look at Edgehill, for example, that 5 classroom addition is almost the cost of Westview's full building 13 years ago. So the envelope is just so expensive, it doesn't go as far, so I don't see those. There's nothing, until they get more, so much of the lower mainland Victoria taken care of, I don't see the seismic belonging to Texas. Yeah, just the seismic population.
Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, motion that the Board of Education approve the submission of the major capital plan as presented. All in favor, thank you. We have the whole report for June 10th. Recommended motions arising related to 2026-2027 annual budget. Any further comments?
No, I'll answer questions.
Any questions? You've presented it quite thoroughly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Hopkins. Motion that the 2026-2027 annual board budget be adopted and approved for submission to the Ministry of Education and Healthcare. All in favor? 2026-2027 board meeting calendar.
This is unchanged from the draft.
Right. No, okay.
Any comments or questions? Motion to approve the 2026-2027 board meeting calendar. Gretchen? Maureen, thank you, all in favor. 2026-2027 board annual work plan.
This one has a few edits from the draft, and I saw looking at the agenda, there's a couple redundancies to come out, but the major edits were because there's no meetings in October, we shuffled the board work plan stuff to November. We added in November, didn't pick the day, but the idea of trustee orientation in around where the committee of the whole likely would have been. And then we scripted at the back end and a meeting with the IEC to be determined to be likely with the new board and determined later, but those are the changes from the two.
Any questions or comments? Good. Okay, motion to approve the 2026-2027 board annual work plan. Gretchen, Dale, all in favor. Other business, policy 16, indemnity bylaw.
Okay, this is one of the last ones to come out of our routine review. It was a few months back. This one we were asking to, we were looking to have checked with legal before adopting anything. So what we have here is a few minor edits proposed by Harrison.
Yeah, just be pretty minor.
Yeah, he said it was fine as it was, but he strengthened a few pieces of language.
Okay, questions or comments? Motion that the board approve the revisions to policy 16, indemnity bylaw. Dale and Maureen, all in favor, thank you. Superintendent evaluation.
I can speak to this one as well. We took the conversation two weeks ago. We were proposing that the new appendix A replace the previous appendix A, B, and C. Same idea. It's a process with rigor, but it keeps it open that the process could be fluid from one time to the next, and it contemplates that every 4-year term there'll be one formal and 3 less formal.
Thank you. Yeah, but it's all matched our conversation. Any comments or questions? Motion that the board approve of revised policy 12, appendix A, superintendent evaluation, rescind policy 12, appendices B and C. Dale and Maureen, all in favor, thank you. Trustee trustee elections by law.
So this one we've already, you recall, we made edits tied to the upcoming election in meeting with the city and RD staff. It was a miss. They realized that the edits that I've incorporated are we need to empower the RD for the sections of the election that take place outside the city limits. So it's just more of a housekeeping piece. I met with the two of them sometime recently, Monday.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Motion that the board approve the revisions to policy 7, appendix A, trustee election by law. All in favor, thank you. Question period. And there is no media present. Okay, motion that the regular meeting of June 24th, 2026 be adjourned. Yeah, thank you.
In time for airworks.
Right off